Hello, and welcome back to Russ's Movie Corner. As you can see, my name is Russ, and as you can see, I'm sitting in front of my movie corner. I have my Son of God movie right here, and my God the Father t-shirt on. Link in the description if you want to get a little bit of a discount for that. You are more than welcome to click the link down below, and there will be a code there for 15% off of that. And as you can see by the frame around me, it is time to take down another atheist. And again on the chopping block is SciManDan, because, well, these people seem to think that they're related to rocks. But then they'll say, well, no, we don't believe that we're actually related to rocks. Even though they say that they're related to rocks. They can't seem to make up their minds. And as we'll see from Dan's own mouth, he is trying to twist the words so that you don't actually think that you're related to a rock. So without any further ado, let's jump into this.
Matt Powell, Dr. Peel into Google, you'll be met with at least 2 images of Matt Powell holding an inflatable banana. This is, of course, brilliant and without doubt the funniest thing to have come from the Dr. Peel meme. If you've got no clue what I'm talking about, then I've put a link in the description for the video where I first talk about it. Now, recently Matt Powell has decided to... Matt Powell official has decided to ask everyone if life came from rocks. Interesting question. Let's find out. Chess. Right, back to Lay's video, which as...
Alright, so basically what he's asking there is he's saying that Matt Powell, who moved down to Dinosaur Adventureland to be with Kent Hovind and kind of help him out with that ministry. He's had a few videos on this topic where he's talked about, atheists will say that they will deny certain fundamentals of their faith because they don't want to admit that, that it is a stupid thing to say. And so, he will mention these kind of things and they will do this kind of stuff, and it's absolutely hilarious to watch them flail around to try to make up words or to try to redefine words so that they can try to create this whole entire thing. And as we'll see, this is what they believe. They may not want to admit it, but it is what they believe.
As I stated earlier, is about Matt Powell talking about rocks. Here we go.
Let's see what these atheists have to say about the origin of the first single-celled organisms.
Despite everybody correcting him, he still says that, well, evolutionists believe we came from a rock. Except that no evolutionists ever believed that. Nobody, not one.
This is Aaron Raw, by the way.
This scientific paper says, here that you can see, it says life and rocks may have co-evolved on Earth. And it goes on to say that rocks beget life.
Okay, well, beget means bring about. It doesn't necessarily mean directly from. And I think you know full well, when people like you and Kent say we came from a rock, you are mocking us because you think that we believe we evolved directly from rocks, which is absolutely not the case.
So, if you turn in your Bible to Genesis chapter 11, especially if you have a King James version of the Bible, okay, you will see that it says, and Shem, it's like, these are the generations of Shem. Shem was 100 years old and begat Arphaxad 2 years after the flood. And Shem lived after he begat Arphaxad 500 years, and begat sons and daughters. And Arphaxad lived 430 years and begat Selah. And Arphaxad lived after he begat Selah 403 years and begat sons and daughters. And Salah lived 30 years and begat Eber. And Salah lived after he begat Eber 403 years and begat sons and daughters. You get the message. Begat. Begat. That's literally what you just said. I mean, you see what he's trying to do, right? Like literally, right off. You see what this guy's trying to do. Dan, son, that's literally what it means. Begat means the father of. Fathered. I don't know how else to say it for you, son. I mean, you can try to say it different ways, okay? But honestly, at the end of the day, you just look like an idiot. Because you end up sounding like a moron when you do that, okay? You do. I'm sorry to say it. So, here's the Living Translation, and it says, 2 years after the great flood, when Shem was 100 years old, he became the father of Arphaxad. Okay? The father of Arphaxad. And it says, or the birth of this ancestor of. That's literally what it says right down here in the notes. It says, or the birth of this ancestor of. So that would literally mean that Shem was the ancestor of Arphaxad. Begat Arphaxad. Shem begat Arphaxad. Isn't that literally what they're saying? That rocks begat life? That life came from rocks? I mean, it seems pretty cut and dried there, son. I mean, I could do this all day. I think you get the picture here, okay? This one just says, so the New American Standard just says the same thing, became the father of. Okay? I mean, I think you get the picture here, son. Okay? I'm just getting some different translations because I think I'm just pounding this home. Okay? So it says here, and this is my Linsel Study Bible. This is Harold Linsel. He is a PhD. Okay? He wrote a lot of the annotations, topical headings, indexes, all that kind of stuff in here. Okay? And it says, Shem's line of descendants included Arphaxad, okay, born 2 years after the flood, when Shem was 100 years old. After that, he lived another 500 years and had many sons and daughters. When Arphaxad was 35 years old, his son, Shelah, was born, and after that, he lived another 403 and had many sons and daughters. And there's a little asterisk in there, and down here it says 11, 12, and 13. His son, or, by Hebrew usage, quote, there was born to him the ancestor of Shelah. And after that, and so throughout the remainder of this chapter. Which means, okay, that, I mean, it was like they were, yeah, that Arphaxad was the ancestor of Shelah, and Shelah was the ancestor of Eber. So rocks literally are your ancestor in this case, Dan. You don't want to admit that, and that's fine. You don't have to admit it. But that's what you believe, son.
Right there. So when people get online and they say nobody believes that life descended from rocks, it shows that this guy hasn't done the most basic of research.
Very true.
No one does believe that we came directly from rocks.
Yes,
now,
they do.
rocks may have played a big part in harbouring life, yes, but no one, and I mean no one, thinks that we evolved directly from a rock, which is what you guys imply that we think.
Which is it, Dan? Where did the minerals come from? Where did those minerals come from? Huh? You're made up of minerals, aren't you? Shinops? I'm pretty sure you're familiar with that. If you're not, then maybe you need to go back and take a biology course. Shinops, son. Think about it. What are you made of? Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, phosphorus, sulfur. Sound familiar? Where did those come from? From rocks. According to your theory. It's literally what you believe.
He needs to definitely go look at some scientific articles and papers.
They do.
And instead resort to your typical misrepresentations of
This
science,
is Professor
like claiming
Dave.
I think life came from a rock, no matter how many times I explain to you that those are stupid things to say.
I love how he admits that it's a stupid thing to say, that life descended from a rock. They're admitting that if somebody actually believes that it's a crazy belief system.
Which it is. You just said it. Life descended from a rock. Your own words, Matt. Descended means the process of originating from an ancestral stock. We did not descend from rocks. That is plainly obvious. Show me a scientific paper that says that.
He just did. He literally just did, son. It's literally on Smithsonian.com right now. In fact, the link will be in the description below, but you can Google it for yourself. Google life from rocks, and you'll start finding a whole bunch of different things. In fact, I literally Googled it, okay? I mean, I literally Googled that life came from rocks. Let me, and that one was Origin of Life Evolution. But, basically, it was pretty much the same thing, okay? So, that article from 2016, okay? This one, right here, okay? I know it's hard to see because of the way that the phone is and the way that everything is. It's Smithsonian Magazine, okay? And it's Life and Rocks May Have Co-Evolved on Earth, okay? Written by Maya Wei Haas, January 13th, 2016. You can Google it, okay? And like I said, link will be in the description below. Now, besides that, okay, that's in response to a PBS Nova special that this guy, Robert Hagen, was doing, okay? It's called Life's Rocky Start, okay? And Robert Hazen is from Carnegie Institute, okay? And he is out there, okay? He says in that article that he, like, somebody told him that life descended from minerals. And he was like, whoa, really? So, the narrator says, this is an actual transcript from Life's Rocky Start, and I will put a link down below to the video so that you can go watch this yourself, Dan, or anyone else who's a fan of Dan, and you can go and watch this for yourself. I keep saying all the time, and as if by magic, Story of Earth 2011, Nat Geo. You can go look it up on YouTube. Do you know how many people have looked it up? 0. Because they're afraid. Why are they afraid? Because, and as if by magic, means that they do actually believe in magic. Because that was written by PhDs who literally wrote and as if by magic. That's not Mark Strong, the narrator, saying, oh, and as if by magic. No, he's literally reading from a script that was written by these people. It was written by like 2 PhDs. Okay, I literally saw who it was written by. I mean, you can look it up on IMDb. Go, look up The Story of Earth 2011, and then click on Cast and Crew credits, okay? And it'll say, narrator, Mark Strong, and then it will go down a little bit, and then it will say, like, who wrote the damn thing? And it was a couple of PhDs, folks. These people that these evolutionists hold in such high regard, okay? Which is one of the reasons why I say, yeah, here's a PhD. Here's a couple more PhDs. That's why I say I have PhDs, okay? Because then I can say I have peer-reviewed document that states, yeah, this is exactly what it states. How do we know this? Because PhDs tell us. 2 can play this game. Okay? So this is literally a guy who is a mineralogist. Okay? He studies gems and minerals for a fucking living. Okay? His name is Robert Hazen. Okay? Narrator, but could rocks and minerals also solve the greatest mystery of all time? The origin of life. Robert Hazen. The rocks we pick up tell a story that life couldn't have occurred without rocks. Bam! Slam dunk, son! Right there in black and white. He's literally saying that you cannot have life without rocks. I don't know how clearer you could be. You'd have to be an absolute freaking moron to not understand this. If a fucking scientist is telling you rocks begat life, guess what? They're saying you descended from rocks. Because what had to happen to the rocks for life to begin? It had to rain on the rocks, and then the minerals erode into the oceans, and then they gathered down near the vents, down at the bottom of the ocean, and then, boom, somehow and as if by magic, lightning struck them, amino acids happened, and then proteins, and then DNA, and RNA, and all that kind of crap. That's literally what you're saying. It's literally what you believe in. That's what they're saying, son! Narrator, could cold, lifeless stone hold the key to every living thing on Earth? Ruth Blake, Yale University. But you look at a rock and think, ah, well, nothing. But this holds the signature of life. She's talking about a rock, fucking idiot. I don't understand how you cannot see this and go, oh, wait a minute. Damn, they do believe we do believe that we come from rocks. You see how he's trying to twist the words. You see how before it was, oh, well, see, over here you say that, life came from rocks, or life begat rock, but, it kind of played this role in our evolutionary history. Then he comes back and says, well, now you said we descended from rocks. That was your words. No, that was actually Professor Dave's words. Okay? That life descended from rocks. That was Professor Dave's words, that life descended from rocks. It wasn't Matt's words. Okay? But yeah, that's what you believe. Okay? So then, Hazen is out to expose a secret relationship between rocks and life that helped drive both the origin of life and its evolution into complex creatures. The origin of life, son. They're basically saying the relationship between rocks and life that helped drive both the origin of life and its evolution into complex creatures. Hazen, this is a very new set of understandings, and the more we look, the more we see that life depended on rocks and rocks depend on life. And this has been going on for 4 billion years. Narrator, as a geologist, it's no surprise that Hazen is searching for answers written in stone. But is he right? Are rocks missing the spark of life? The missing spark of life? History of Earth is unimaginably long. If it were in a day, blah, blah, blah. It says, Bob Hazen has come up with another way to visualize Earth's long history that reveals the special relationship between rocks and life. Special relationship between rocks and life. He has divided it into 6 stages, each represented by a different color. To understand how we ended up with green Earth, the planet we now know, requires us to turn back, the clock back, to before there was any life at all. Stage 1 was the creation of black Earth. Back in Morocco, Hazen and Adam Aronson, meteorite experts, seek out a small rock from the beginning of our cosmos. Robert Hazen, wow, look at this pile here. Narrator, these are meteorites, rocks that have fallen from space. Meteorite expert, Adam Aronson. This is Tamdat. This is the one that fell 20 kilometers up the road from here. People saw it fall. A recent meteorite fall in Siberia was captured in videos that have shown up on YouTube. Other space rocks have ended up for sale here in Morocco. Hazen, so you'd buy this without doing tests? Adam Aronson, I would drop the cash right now, if you would give me a good price. Narrator, meteorites here can sell for tens of thousands of dollars. That may seem a steep price for a lump of rock, but these are some of the very oldest objects in our solar system. Robert Hazen, this is the oldest object you could ever hold in your hand. It's 4.6 billion years old. He doesn't know that. And it was formed before the Earth formed. This is the very solid material, very first solid material, the very first rock in our solar system, and these came together to build all the planets. There's no way you could know that. Our Earth was created out of rocks and dust present at the start of our solar system. Over time, small fragments of orbiting rock collided, coming together into the planets circling the sun. At first, Earth was molten, with temperatures in the thousands of degrees, but in the cold vacuum of space, this hot rock began to cool and change. Nothing, not a speck of dust, is believed to have survived from the period of black Earth. It was a hellishly unpleasant time. Volcanoes spewed hot lava from deep inside the planet. When it cooled, it covered the Earth with its first rock called basalt, and it was black. I guess if you do kind of crack open basalt, it's a little bit black on the inside, but it's more like a really dark gray. It's not black. Obsidian is black. It says, it seems like a desolate landscape, but some ingredients that life will need are already here in these rocks. Look inside and you begin to understand how intriguing even ordinary rock is. And then Hazen says, every rock, you slice it open, you look inside, there's something special. Narrator, the rocks are made up mostly of minerals, which are crystals like quartz or diamonds. Looking through a microscope at super thin slices of rock lets you see its mineral composition. Okay. And then, let me see here. Hazen, minerals are the fundamental building blocks of societies. We wouldn't have televisions, we wouldn't have automobiles, we wouldn't have buildings without the mineral riches that we have. This is narrator. So, were the remarkable chemical properties of minerals also key in creating life? If so, Earth would need more than it started with. It is estimated that the meteorites that formed Earth had only about 250 minerals, a sort of chemical starter kit containing many of the elements. Then, in the intense heat and pressures in the creation of our planet, new minerals began to form. This changed the appearance of our Earth from black to gray. Then it goes on to talk about Yosemite and granite. Okay? Which is why they call it gray, because granite is gray. Okay? And then Hazen says, water plays a central role in every model for the origin of life. That's because water is such a great solvent. All these different kinds of molecules can be floating around in the water and they have the potential to interact together. The starting point is the water. So when did the Earth cool enough to have liquid water, this element key to life? Hazen, one of the biggest unknowns in this whole idea of going from black to gray to blue water-covered Earth is how quickly it happens. The timing was a big mystery. It still is a mystery because they don't know. Okay? And then they want to say that Pilbara, Western Australia, is one of the oldest places on Earth. And so, one of the best places to solve the mystery of the planet's first oceans. Yeah, like you'd know that. Okay? Now, listen to this, okay? So it says, this is the narrator. Hazen joins an all-star team of geologists, including Martin van Kranendonk from the University of New South Wales and John Valley of the University of Wisconsin. Valley is collecting rocks that could hold clues to when water first appeared. Listen to this. We can get zircon and other minerals that date all the way back to 4.4 billion years old. Martin van Kranendonk. Hopefully. Oh, please, let it be the one. Yeah. Sorry. And then they go on to talk about zircon, which is, it's similar to diamonds, but they actually use it in a lot of different things. In fact, we actually create zircons in the lab. That's actually like how they create like lab-grown diamonds and lab-grown gemstones, is they literally make zircon and then they color it. Okay? Yeah, so then the narrator goes, so if life were possible that early, it begs the question, how did life begin? In 1871, Charles Darwin speculated in a letter to a friend that a warm little pond might be life's birthplace. A warm soup of chemicals, bathed by energy from the sun, would have been, well, comfortable for molecules to come together in new ways and create life. Jeffrey Bada, who's another one of these crazies out there that's talking about these things, Darwin was way, way ahead of his time. A nice little warm soup is going to get you a long way. So literally they believe that it rained on the rocks for millions of years, creating not only the oceans, okay, but also eroding the minerals out of the rocks, okay, that gather near the hydrothermal vents in the primordial soup to create life. Son, that's what you believe. Okay? Don't tell me different. Okay? Now, this is another scientific paper, okay, that says a supply of major elements is another condition for the formation of life, as most organisms on Earth are made up of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. The early Earth crust, along with atmosphere and ocean, can supply these. The origin of life has been a long debated issue. There have been many theories as to how it evolved, but professors Shigenori Maruyama, ELSI, Tokyo Institute of Technology, Ken Kurokawa, National Institute of Genetics, and Dr. Toshikazu Ebisuzaki, Riken, have found a way to narrow the field to a single likely theory. That rocks basically made Earth. That rocks basically made life. Okay? That's their theory. Sorry, son. It's what you believe, whether or not you want to believe in it.
And here's the thing. They actually believe that, whether they realize it or not. And I'm actually going to show you the scientific papers. We'll just go through just a few of them and show you that this is what they believe. They may not understand the fundamentals of their faith, but it is something that they do believe, is that life descended from rocks.
No, I don't believe that at all. I don't believe we came from rocks.
And yet you have mineralogists and geologists and different scientists getting together and telling us that rocks beget life.
Which is different to actually descending from them, isn't it, Matt?
No. No, it's not. You literally, God, Dan, you are talking out of both sides of your mouth. You literally said, not a minute ago, in this literal video, that we didn't descend from rocks. Oh, it played key roles, but we didn't descend from rocks. Now you're saying, oh, it didn't begat life, it descended. That's different. Which is it, son? Come on, dude. Like, oh. You've got to be the worst at this stuff, man. Come on, dude.
So it's a bold-faced lie for these atheist YouTubers out there to get online and say, well, nobody believes that life came from a rock. That's a creationist straw man.
And despite what you're saying now, it still is.
No, it's not. As we've already seen. And as we will see as we continue into this. Okay? Sorry, Dan, you're losing. Okay? You're absolutely losing this argument.
You know, and they'll accuse us of lying. Well, they themselves are lying just by saying that, because it is basic knowledge on the origin of life research. Here's another paper, Genesis, Rocks, Minerals, and the Geochem.
Yeah, and look at this. Look who it's written by. Robert M. Hazen. Right here. Robert M. Hazen. Literally the same guy I just talked about. And the first paper that he brought up talked about Geoscience World Elements. Life arose on the young Earth as a natural chemical process. More than a half-century of experimental research has underscored the dynamic interactions of atmosphere, oceans, and rocks that fostered this ancient transition from geochemistry to biochemistry. Researchers on the origin of life now conclude that rocks and minerals must have played key roles in virtually every phase of life's emergence. They catalyzed the synthesis of key biomolecules. They selected, protected, and concentrated these molecules. They jump-started the metabolism, and they may have even acted as life's first genetic system. Son, what does that say right there? It's literally saying you descended from rocks. You can't get any more clear than that right there.
Chemical origin of life. So again, this is a paper on the origin of life. You can see it right there. If you read on in this paper, it says researchers on the origin of life now conclude that rocks and minerals must have played key roles in virtually every phase of life's emergence.
And I know it's kind of going behind me, and it says they catalyzed the synthesis of key biomolecules. They selected, protected, and concentrated those molecules. They jump-started metabolism, and they may even have acted as life's first genetic system. So he's literally saying that you came from rocks. That literally that your genes came from rocks. That's literally what he's saying.
You are showing a paper which supports what I am saying.
No,
They
it
played
doesn't.
key roles in life's emergence. They didn't bring life themselves, and we did not descend from them.
Yes, it literally says you did. It literally says you did. You see how he's trying to rewrite history here? You see how he's trying to, like, say different words to try to make this seem stupid? Oh, well, see, it doesn't actually say it this way. It says it this way. No, it doesn't, son. It doesn't. Dan, I don't understand. I don't know if I can actually make you understand this, but if any of you out there are backing Dan, I hope you can understand this. Okay? Look into my eyes. You descended from rocks. You did. That's literally what these people are saying. It's literally what they're saying. You came from rocks.
The theory is that rocks were rained on and minerals were eroded from those rocks, and then we came into existence based on those minerals getting eroded and rearranging themselves into elements that would make it so that life could come into existence. That is the fundamental of their faith. It's the fundamental of the origin of life from an atheistic perspective.
But that still doesn't mean that we came from an actual rock.
Dan! Where did these molecules come from? Originally. All of your little amino acids. Okay? Where did those come from? Where did it come from? From rock. Which means you literally do believe you came from a rock. Stop trying to say you don't believe that. Because you do.
Again, rocks may have played a crucial part in the formation of first life, but we did not evolve from them.
That's literally what you're saying. Key roles. Evolution. You evolved from rocks. Now, I'm not saying that the rocks were sentient and they stood up and had babies that became organic living molecules. But you literally do believe you came from a rock. Because it had to rain on the rock, and those minerals from the rocks had to go down into the oceans, down to those little vents, and it had to get started in the primordial soup. That's what you believe. You literally do believe that's what you came from. Stop saying that you don't.
And the fact that they admit that it is so stupid to believe that life came from rock. Nobody believes that. To me, they're admitting that their own belief system is crazy.
It's more that you don't understand the differences between assisting and descending from that.
So this is...
Actually, the person who doesn't understand assisting and descending from is you, Dan. Okay? Because Robert Hazen's literal paper right there said, okay, that it had life's genetic blueprints. Literally. I mean, are you that dumb? Do I need to go back here? Right here? Okay? Where it says, have acted as life's first genetic system? It says, they catalyzed the synthesis of key biomolecules. They selected, protected, and concentrated those molecules. They jump-started metabolism, and they may have even acted as life's first genetic system. That is literally saying you descended from them.
On that.
So this is what they are saying. I mean, you've got another paper that is titled, You Owe Your Life to Rock. So it says here that erosion of metal-rich granite long ago set the stage for multicellular organisms. How interesting.
Set the stage, not originate from.
Okay. Well, it just so happens, son, that I have that paper right here. Okay, called You Owe Your Life to Rock, science.org. Okay? And the picture right underneath says, rocky start. The prolific formation and subsequent erosion of metal-rich granite, such as these eroded rocks in Finland, polished sample inset, starting 1.9 billion years ago, set the stage for multicellular life to evolve a new study. Okay? Then it says, in the very first sentence, thank goodness for granite. If not for the formation and subsequent erosion of large quantities of metal-rich granite on a supercontinent that formed billions of years ago, the evolution of multicellular life, including us, could have been stifled or delayed, according to a new study. For much of its history, life on Earth existed as only single-celled organisms. You can see that I'm actually reading this same exact paper. It's right there on the screen. Okay? Certain proteins critical for multicellular life and presumed to have been equally critical for its evolution from single-celled ancestors, require heavy metal elements, especially copper, zinc, molybdenum, says John Parnell, a geoscientist at the University of Aberdeen in the United Kingdom. Oh, gee! That's in your own backyard, Dan! I mean, you're in the UK. I'm not sure exactly where in the UK you are, but that's basically in your backyard, technically speaking, because you're in such a small country. Previous studies suggest that multicellular life evolved sometime between 1.6 and 1.2 billion years ago. Researchers thought that before that innovation, these vital metals were locked away from environments where life thrived, either sequestered in the oxygen-poor depths of the ocean or held in ancient ore deposits in Earth's crust waiting to be eroded. Now, Parnell and his colleagues have proposed another option that fits new geological evidence. The essential metals eroded from rare type of granite that is formed in large amounts soon after Earth's landmasses collided to create the supercontinent Nunya about 1.9 billion years ago. Love to know how they know that. The team's analysis shows that most deposits of this variety of granite, whose chemical composition caused the metals to be concentrated in ore deposits that were readily eroded rather than distributed throughout the rock, formed between 1.8 and 1.3 billion years ago when molten material from deep below the Earth's crust rose to just beneath the surface and crystallized. Then it goes on to say single-celled organisms incorporated these trace metals into metal-binding proteins that ultimately enabled the diversification of multicellular life. The researchers speculate online this month in Geology. So yes, it's literally saying that if it wasn't for rock, you wouldn't be here. Right now. It's literally what it's saying. Okay? It says, although the rise of oxygen concentrations in the atmosphere about 2.4 billion years ago suggests that increased erosion, and therefore an increased flux of metals into the environment, was inevitable, and large amount of freshly formed granite were undoubtedly an important source of metals too, he adds. Genetic studies of modern-day organisms suggest that proteins that make multicellularity possible, multicellularity possible, especially those requiring zinc, evolved rather late, between 1.6 and 1.2 billion years ago. DuPont notes. Before that time, life was constrained and then it expanded. The problem is, we don't know what the metal concentrations in the oceans were during this period. We still have to identify the sources of these metals. So literally that's what it is, okay? That's literally what they're saying, okay? I mean, that's literally what they're saying, is that it was either this supercontinent slamming into each other, which I don't know how they could know that, but the supercontinent slamming into each other that created these metals, or that the mountains that arose, eroded some of these metals down into shallow pools around the supercontinent. That's what this article proposes, okay? It's literally right here down towards the end of the article. It says, results of the new study add to the increasingly detailed picture of Earth's geochemical evolution at a critical juncture in life history, says Chris DuPont, a microbial physiologist at the J. Craig Venter Institute in San Diego. It is an attractive hypothesis, he notes. However, he adds, another alternative is that life in the shallow water surrounding the Nunya supercontinent was able to evolve multicellularity by making do with smaller concentrations of metals than are assumed by Parnell and his colleagues, rendering the increased delivery of metals from granite moot. So, yeah. It's basically, that's what this paper says. Okay? This John Parnell guy over here, okay, is literally saying that yes, you owe your life to rock. Okay? If it weren't for rock, you wouldn't be here, which means you came from a rock.
I love the way that this one starts out. It starts out by saying, thank goodness for granite.
Bruh.
These scientists are saying, don't thank God for life. Thank your granite grandfather rock.
Yep.
Because if it wasn't for him, this unconscious rock that was rained on and had minerals come out of it, then we wouldn't have even come into existence. We wouldn't have even been conceived, you know.
Yes, because that's totally ridiculous, isn't it? Way more ridiculous than just clicking your fingers and creating life in an instant.
Dan, have you even read the Bible, son? I don't think you have. Oh, you can sit there, look at your computer monitor, look at me and go, oh, I've read the Bible, haha. No, you haven't. I know you haven't. And most of you out there, okay, that say, oh, magic space wizard, tried to do this. You've never read the Bible. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was formless and empty, and darkness covered the deep waters. And the Spirit of God was hovering over the surface of the waters. And then God said, let there be light, and there was light. And God saw that the light was good. And he separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness night. And evening passed, and morning came, marking the first day. So 1:1, it says also, or in the beginning when God created the heavens and the earth, or when God began to create the heavens and the earth. Okay. So that's the point. Okay. We live in a universe. Uni meaning one. Verse meaning single spoken sentence. We live in a single spoken sentence. God didn't lift a finger to create. He just spoke it into existence.
Yeah, it's just so interesting to me that that's how this paper starts out. Thank goodness for granite. I mean, it just makes you laugh when you look at this because it's mind-blowing that anyone could possibly buy into it. You know, and atheists go on and on about how that it's superstitious to believe in the devil and to believe in Satan, while they simultaneously buy into the biggest lies that only Satan could give them.
Oh, so this is Satan's work. Gotcha. That bloody Satan, he's such a pain in the butt, isn't he?
Yeah, like you would know. You're so far in your sin, Dan, that you don't even know that the devil's whispering in your ear. You wouldn't know his voice from anyone else's voice at this point. You're so far in your sin.
The fact that they could be so deceived and so manipulated and so tricked into believing something so ridiculous is proof of Satan's existence.
Sorry. Understanding science is proof of Satan's existence? I'm supposed to take your word for that, am I? The word from a man who thinks that this is funny.
Hey, would you happen to know where the bathroom is, dude?
No, probably not.
But anyways,
I think that if they believe they came from a rock, they're not following science.
Here he is.
What is science, Dan? What is science? Comes from the Latin word "scire," or the Greek word "scire," to know, knowledge. Okay? Science is what we can observe, test, demonstrate. That's what science means. You have no idea what science is, son. Okay? You like to call yourself SciManDan, but you're not anywhere near science. This kind of garbage has nothing to do with science. It's all conjecture. It's all conjecture. It's a hypothesis that they are using to try to come up with the theory of the origin of the universe. Okay? And as Ken Hovind has said numerous times, okay, there's cosmic evolution, time, space, matter. There's chemical evolution, elements. Stellar evolution, stars and planets. Organic evolution, the origin of life. Macroevolution, one kind of animal into another. And then down at the bottom, there's micro, which is variations of different kinds. Which is what we can see. Which is what we can observe. Which is what we can know. Okay? And in 1830, Charlie Lyell, who was a virulent atheist, he read Darwin's book, and he was like, or actually he hadn't read Darwin's book, but the theory of evolution had been around for a long time, and he was like, wow, I really hate this Bible thing, and so I'm going to go out, and I'm going to like look at these different layers of dirt, and I'm going to say that this one is, 100 years old. This one is 1,000. This one's 5,000. This one's 10,000. This one's 15,000. This one's 20,000. And he literally created the geologic column as it exists today. Okay? In fact, I actually have I know it's hard to see, but this is my notebook from my Geology 210 course, okay? And this is the tongue. This is where we were on the third day, on the third site that we visited, not the third day, but the third site that we visited. And you can see here that I have Cambrian, and then I have Formation, Polita, Harkness, or Harkless. And then here you can see where they have all the different layers, and I have different numbers for all the different layers, okay? And that's literally what it was. That's literally what geology does, is it teaches you that you're supposed to look at these different layers are different ages. Okay? And so, the problem is that you, Dan, have no idea what scientific knowledge actually is. Okay? When you talk about flat earthers, I can watch you talk about flat earthers all the time. Okay? Even the Christian ones, because I agree with you that those people are stupid. Okay? Those people have no idea what they're doing. They're perverting the Bible for their own gain. Okay? Trying to say that the earth is flat when the Bible doesn't teach that. Now, where I disagree with you is on videos like this, where you sit there, you don't offer any single scientific explanation for anything. You just change the definition of words to suit your meaning, and then you twist and turn everything to try to make it seem like, well, we don't believe this, but you do. It's inherent. Just like I believe that God spoke the universe into existence, believing in this, okay? You believe that 20 billion, 13 to 20 billion years ago, there was a Big Bang, okay? 4.6 million years ago, the Earth cooled down, okay? Rained on the rocks for millions of years, and life formed in a warm little pond. That's what you believe. So yes, you do believe you came from a rock. By its it's so ingrained that you can't deny it. But you are, which is hilarious to me. Okay? You don't even understand your own theory, and here I am explaining it to you.
Dr. Kent, the science gen. You know what? I really miss Kent. Should definitely tackle one of his videos again sometime soon.
Science is what we can observe and know. What do we know? It comes from the Latin word seer.
No, and once again, see right there, evolution does not say that we came from a rock.
Bruh. It's just parroting what he's heard from all of the other atheist YouTubers. This guy has obviously never researched it himself, because if he did, he would realize that the fundamental of the origin of life involves rock being rained on.
But that does not mean we came from a rock.
Then where the fuck did the minerals come from, Dan? Did it just sprinkle? Come on, dude! You can't have it both ways. You literally cannot have it both ways. You cannot say, I believe that rocks played a role in it, but we didn't descend from them. Well, then where did the minerals come from? From rock. Which means, yes, you believe that you came from rock. I mean, he literally says it right here. We see this intertwined coevolution of the geosphere and biosphere, says Hazen. Life begets rock, rocks begets life. His team and other experts in the field present this idea in a new Nova feature, Life's Rocky Start. And he even says, right after the Big Bang, things are much too hot. And even after things condensed a little bit, it was only hydrogen and helium gas that made up the bulk of the universe. They don't form minerals because they are gases, and minerals have to be crystals. The next thing the hydrogen and helium gas did was condense into large stars. Stars are engines of what is called nucleosynthesis, or the making of all the chemical elements of the periodic table. Minerals are formed from those other elements. When, after the first star, could you have the first crystal? The answer, it turns out, is in the gaseous envelopes of very energetic stars or exploding supernovas. As those gaseous envelopes expand and cool, you have concentrations of elements that are just high enough and temperatures just low enough that first crystals can form. That first crystal, we think, was a microscopic species of diamond because stars are carbon-rich and because diamond forms at the highest temperature of any known crystal. Now, problem is, okay, you can't fuse past iron. So while technically you could have carbon in a star, okay, you can't fuse past iron. So how did you get gold and silver and platinum and lead and tin, okay, and all these other minerals that he's talking about on the periodic table? They won't answer that. They don't have an answer for that. Not even Hazen has an answer for that. Okay? He just assumes it happened. But he is literally saying right there that you came from rock. So Dan, you're stupid, son. I'm sorry. You are. And if any of your followers are watching this, I hope they understand how stupid you sound. When you say, "Oh, we didn't come from rocks." Well, then where did the minerals come from? From rock. Oh! Oh!
That the fundamental of their faith is that rocks were what brought life into existence, the minerals that were contained therein. This is their side that they don't even understand. It's absolutely mind-blowing.
Why do you keep saying evolution is, we claim that we came from rock? It's not what the majority of people that believe in evolution, it's not what they believe at all. It's not what they say.
It absolutely is what they say.
It is.
I mean, have you ever looked at a scientific journal on the origin of life? Have you ever looked at a scientific paper on the origin of the first single-celled organisms?
Now you watch. There's only about a minute and 22 seconds left on this, and I can guarantee you that what is going to happen is that Dan is going to come back and go, "All right, we have not come from rock. I'm done with this. We're all done and dusted for another Tinfoil Tuesday." I guarantee you that's what he's going to say in about 10 seconds.
Bruh. If they're going to be wrong about something as simple as the origin of life from an atheistic perspective, if they're going to be wrong about basic biology, what makes you think that they're going to be correct about, say, advanced genetics?
Says the man who thinks Satan is a real person. I think we've seen enough of Matt's argument here, don't you?
Ha! See? What did I tell you? Son, Satan is real. Okay? Satan is. He really is real. Because I have a peer-reviewed, time-tested document that says that he's real. Multiple times. Okay? It says he's real. Okay? So much so that even the Jews and the Muslims believe in him. That's like 2 billion people on this planet that believe in Satan. Sorry. Sorry that offends your sensibilities, but that's what it is. Okay? One final thing I want to show. Okay? One final thing I'm going to show. Okay? Number 1. What's happening in this picture? Rocks are eroding, things are exploding. Rocks are eroding. Rocks are eroding, and it's creating life. Okay? This is what you believe. Okay? So this is billions of years ago. Okay? The sun ignites at around about 4.5 to 5 billion years ago. The Earth happens. Then the moon happens. Because somehow, somewhere, some planet that formed that nobody knows anything about or has any deal with thinks that it happened. Okay? And then prokaryotes, cells without nuclei. And then photosynthesis somehow happens. Because, and as if by magic. And then atmospheric oxygen happens. And then eukaryote cells with nuclei. See how they're doing this? Okay? And then from that, you get, bacteria. Then you get protozoa. Then you get sponges and fungi. And then corals. And then the Cambrian explosion. Which is, in the fossil record, there's no life, no life, no life, very little bit of life, and then a whole bunch of life, fully formed organisms. And they can't explain this. But yeah, that's really how everything happened. This is the people, okay, that kind of came up with these ideas. But see, here's the formation of the Earth. Rained on the rocks. Lightning struck. And then you had molecules. Wow! Where did the molecules come from? From rocks. Earth history. Weathering, erosion, and transportation of sediment that gradually neutralized the toxic ocean. Highly acidic ocean was neutralized around 4 billion years ago, but salinity remained more than 5 SU salinity units. By 635 million years ago, it was reduced to 2 SU. I'd love to know how they know that, considering that you can't know that. But they literally believe this. Rained on the rocks for millions of years, okay? And then from that came life. Now, this was a slide. This is for all of those of you out there that believe in evolution. This is for you. This is a slide that you can actually purchase. Okay, you can actually see, okay? Just type in like origin of life or evolution of life. Okay? This is from Biology Online. It says, the evolution is a change in a genetic population over successive generations. And look, they have a chimpanzee going into a human. Okay? Wow! Look at that. A volcano exploding, lightning happening, rains on the rocks. This is what they believe, folks. Okay? And this is actually in, I believe it was the article on the Nova. Or no, I know where it was. I know where it was. It was on the UW Astrobiology website. So the University of Washington has an astrobiology website. Okay, and like I said, I'll post links to all these down below. Okay, and they literally say evolution of bacteria. In this research area, UW-AB faculty and students use paleontology and stable isotope geochemistry of ancient Archean-era sedimentary rocks to determine when the main forms of microbial metabolism arose and whether this caused environmental change in the atmosphere and oceans. Researchers also use organic chemistry to study molecular fossils such as hydrocarbons and kerogen in ancient rocks, Archean and Paleoproterozoic eons, to discover hydrocarbon biomarkers that constrain the evolution of microbial systems. And then it says, understanding of our ancient oceans and atmospheres, a significant focus of UW-AB. So this is the picture that they use, literally. Okay? A significant focus of UW-AB faculty and students is working to understand the nature of Earth's environment through time and understanding how these environments affected life on the planet. UW-AB researchers study the influx of nutrients to ancient oceans, measuring phosphorus and nitrogen geochemistry in sedimentary rocks through time, to determine whether these elements reflected or influenced ecosystem evolution. Constraining the Earth's ancient atmospheric pressure and composition is also crucially important, as it helps us find explanations for how the Earth's climate has remained clement for billions of years, even in the face of a much dimmer early sun. Love to know how you know that. UW-AB efforts in this area include determining atmospheric composition during the Archean from sedimentology of heavy minerals from eroded rocks, and determination of atmospheric pressure on Earth over 2 billion years ago using fossil raindrop imprints. UW-AB faculty and students have also used a combination of computer models, biogeochemical cycles, and geological field data from ancient rocks to understand the mechanisms for the rise of atmospheric oxygen 2.4 and 0.6 billion years ago. This rise altered Earth's climate by chemically affecting greenhouse gas concentrations and at the same time enabling the evolution of complex life. Oh, the study of ancient rocks to find out how complex life evolved. Gee, I wonder. Where did you come from again? Oh, that's right, a rock. Now, before we talked about the Miller-Urey experiment. This is the Miller-Urey experiment, okay? And basically, what he did, and it's easier to explain in this one. Well, I guess it's... Let me see here. This one's probably easier. So basically, he had... basically what Miller and Urey did, okay? So basically, there was this guy in the 1950s. He was a brand new graduate student, and he wanted to believe so much in this primordial soup garbage, okay, that he created this experiment, okay, where he has a whole bunch of tubes, okay, a flask over here, a flask over here with a spark in it, okay, and then they had a cooling system with a condenser in it. And basically what he did was he heated up water, okay, and pulled that went up here as steam, went around here and dropped into the atmosphere, okay, which he had methane, ammonia, methane, hydrogen, and water vapor, okay. Then he ran a spark through it. And when he did, he started noticing that in the bottom of the flask, he started getting this pinkish red goo. Okay? That pinkish red goo was 93% carboxylic, 92%, 93% carboxylic acid. Or no, tar. 6% carboxylic acid. And like 2% amino acids. Okay? And that's what he had here. Okay? And then he siphoned those off, because if he put them back in here in the water, what's going to happen? They're going to drift apart. Okay? Water is a solvent. I mean, Hazen already said that. Water is a solvent, right? So it's actually going to dissolve the compounds. Okay? So he had to drain them off. Okay? And so he did this a number of times. And how they say this is like, and it's funny because in the actual special that we talked about, Life's Rocky Start, they literally say, this is what they say. Okay? Jeff Botta of the Scripps Institute of Oceanography in San Diego spent his career working to understand early Earth's soup of chemicals. He began to understand the direction of perhaps the most famous scientist in origin of life research, Stanley Miller. Hazen. There are, in the history of science, turning points where we suddenly see the history of Earth and life differently. In the 1950s, Stanley Miller, of the eager graduate student, and Harold Urey, a Nobel Prize-winning mentor at the University of Chicago, conducted this astonishing experiment where they made an early Earth environment. Jeffrey Botta. It looks like this sort of Frankenstein type of apparatus, but actually it's a very careful, thought-out design. Narrator. Botta sets up a modern-day test of the 1950s experiment on Miller's original lab equipment. Jeffrey Botta. One flask contains water. Right here. Okay. Simulate the ocean. Okay, the other flask has gases in it. This is to simulate the atmosphere. Okay? It says, just as it does in nature, water from the ocean evaporates and rises into the atmosphere where it condenses and returns to the ocean. So it rises, falls down through the atmosphere, condenses down here, and then comes down into this trap. Okay? And then it can, and then it comes back up in here where it gets heated and it keeps going around and around and around. Okay? Botta. It says, Miller simulated what he believed to be the atmosphere of early Earth with different gases like ammonia and methane. Then he added a spark of genius. Jeffrey Botta. Miller and Urey decided to use a spark to simulate lightning because that's such a ubiquitous process in the atmosphere of the Earth. Robert Hazen. That was a real inspiration. These little electric sparks, they acted like simulated lightning. Narrator. The energy from the spark of lightning breaks down the gas and water molecules so they can undergo further chemical reactions. Hazen. To their astonishment, when they turned this apparatus on, after only a couple of days, you started seeing this pink color developing, and then, in a few more days, black oily goo is forming around the electrodes. So, like, they have this little goo around this electrodes over here, okay? It says the electrodes get covered with new substances, organic compounds usually associated with life. No, it wasn't. Because what is a black oily goo? Tar. That's what it was. It was mostly tar. Okay, with some carboxylic acid and a little teeny weeny bit of amino acids. Jeffrey Botta. And it wasn't just any organic compound. It was amino acids that make proteins the ingredient for life. Narrator. Amino acids are the building blocks of life. They form proteins, which are the key component of muscles and other tissues. Robert Hazen. And people thought, aha, this is a key step in the origin of life. Edward Van Sloan as Dr. Waldman in Frankenstein film clip. Are you really believe that you can bring life from the dead? Colin Clive as Henry Frankenstein. That body is not dead. It has never lived. I created it. The experiment raised the fear that a Frankenstein creation, like in this classic film, was just around the corner. Botta. People were saying they made Frankenstein in a test tube. Narrator. Had Miller and Urey cooked up life in a test tube? Botta. Many of the news headlines were saying life created in the laboratory, life created in a test tube. Well, of course, that was wrong. The real news was that he'd made these compounds that are part of life. Narrator. By creating amino acids, the Miller-Urey experiment seemed to confirm that Darwin was right. Life must have begun in a shallow pond. But then, 24 years later, a shocking discovery radically changed that idea. On the dark ocean floor, more than a mile below the surface, explorers found a hot, mineral-rich hydrothermal vents, like underwater volcanoes. Temperatures reached more than 600 degrees, and yet here, life was thriving, not off the sun's energy, but through chemical energy from the vents. No one realized that life could thrive without sunlight. Here you have this extreme temperature and this extreme pressure, so you have to shift your perceptions and realize that just because it's extreme to us doesn't mean it's extreme to those microbes. Dude, we don't live with sun. Like, yes, we can create some vitamin D for our skin with the sun, but the sun's actually deadly to us. The only thing that uses the sun at all in any kind of a process is photosynthesis. Seriously? That's what this guy thinks? Ugh. So yeah, I mean, it's just, the Miller-Urey experiment was a complete flop because it was creating two substances that were completely like toxic to life. Okay? And they had to pull the goop out of it. Okay? So they either cleaned it off the electrodes or they pulled it out of this trap. Because again, if they sent it back around, okay, it would either fall apart in the water or it would get destroyed by the spark. That's not going to happen in an ocean. And Brownian motion is going to drive most molecules apart. It already does. So, I'm sorry that they didn't. Okay? Now, one last picture. This is something that you can buy on Amazon right now. This is literally a poster you can buy on Amazon. Okay? Literally a poster you can buy on Amazon. This was the type of poster that was all over my classrooms as a kid. Okay? Smash that like button, hit subscribe, drop a comment below, let me know what you think of this. And, you know, it's funny to me how these people will sit there and say, well, yeah, I mean, the rocks are key, but we didn't descend from them. Then just ask them, where did the compounds come from? Where did the minerals come from? Where did all these things come from? Oh, from rocks? Then that literally means that you descended from rocks. Because if it hadn't been for the rocks, with the compounds, you never would have come together. Sorry. People do believe in that. So, as I said, all the links will be down below. And as we say, we will see you on the next one. I do have a few things in mind. I have a few other things that I'm going to be doing, so keep an eye out on Russ's Movie Corner, and we will see you on the next one.